All right, welcome to edition 34 of the 52 Launch podcast. Today with me is Alexander Moore. Alex, welcome to the podcast.
Pete, thanks for having me.
Today, the topic that I really want to talk about is execution. So I asked Alex to sit in with me because, in the product development, I think you've heard from Mike and Luke and several others in our product development team, how much execution goes into that. And I can speak on that part today. But really what we've talked about marketing, but I don't think we've actually talked about the execution of content creation.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, this is a little bit of a hot topic right now because it's just, the reality is anybody that's got an idea, they overvalue the idea of their product. They undervalue the time and effort it takes to execute on it. And everyone thinks they've got the answers, and I appreciate that. But from my perspective, I have sat with several investors, private equity groups, venture capital groups, individual people who've sold companies. And it's almost a joke when you think what people think is executed and ready is like kindergarten crayon to someone who can actually help you get your product to market. And so that's the topic of the day. But before we go there, why don't we start with this? I think there's a pretty interesting story on how you found us or we found you.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I'll let you go with your side of it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad because I know there's two sides to it. There's a little gray area about the little confusion. So I guess we can clear that up now. But so I graduated UMass Amherst in 2022, so a year ago now, which time has flown, and I was looking for a job, and I live right up the road, so I'm a quarter mile up the road, take my bike in every day, and we are lucky to be in such a creative space here in the Saxonville Mills, and just a lot of creative agencies, brand agencies, companies, really creative stuff. So, and I know a woman who has her own photography business over in Mill One.
She always asks about you.
Yep. Yeah. She partially helped me get here, so always appreciative for her. But I was just looking around, like I said, a bunch of creative companies, and I saw 52 Launch and did some research online, went on the website, which we're revamping right now, and I think for good reason, because I was a little confused just as to, since we do so much here, like you're saying, just, product development on the surface is very, it's like, it seems like it's not, obviously it seems like a lot, but it doesn't seem like too much. And then when you really get into the nitty gritty of going from a sketch or even getting a sketch and then bring a product to market, it's like,
so why gambit when we say from napkin to revenue?
Yeah. Because the amount of steps is like, you just have no idea. And, I've been here for, I think almost 8 months now, and I still have no idea. Like it is ridiculous. But anyways, so back to the website, I had looked at this podcast that you are watching right now, to kind of gain a little more insight on the company. And I'd watched like 2 or 3, and like I said, I just wanted to learn a little more. And I saw Pete here, and I saw Dan sitting in probably where I am now, and just watched a couple, and like I said, got some insight on the company. And I happened to be shopping. I was out at Marshall's on a weekend, which is funny because that was I was cashier in shoes at Marshall's when I was in high school. So I tell people, that was my second job opportunity that stemmed from Marshall's.
So that's where my confusion came from.
Yeah. So, because I went up to Pete, I recognized him. I was like,
I was wearing a 52 Launch.
You're wearing the 52 Launch shirt, and I think that's really what did it, because I was going around, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's the guy from 52 Launch. Like, I recognize him from the podcast. And I was like, I don't know, maybe. And then 52 Launch shirt, and I was like, it definitely is. And then, so I go up, and I say, hey, I don't mean to bother you, but do you work at 52 Launch? And before I could finish my sentence. I was, do you work? And he goes, no. And I was like, so you thought I was
I thought you were
asking
coming for help.
if he worked at Marshall's. And so I was immediately like, you were like, no. And I was like, wait, I was like, you definitely work at 52 Launch. I thought I recognized you and you're wearing the sweatshirt. It was like, so, just gave a quick spiel about myself. Like I just said, I graduated, was looking for a job. And I lucked out because, the content team was looking for another set of hands.
Yeah, we were right at that moment looking for someone to assist Brennan a little bit.
Yeah.
And, the people that we were interviewing would have required a move from Houston or something like that. He's a Boston regular, but he's moved to Houston, so getting him back up here would have been, it just wasn't in the cards, which worked out phenomenally because you're here. And I think it was better. Look at, when you introduced yourself, like I automatically recognized that, you have the drive, you have the talent, you were already doing some of the stuff on your own. And I know in our world, I'd rather teach you how to execute the way we do things than bring someone in that's already going to tell me this isn't the way it's done. I know this isn't the way it's done. Like you just indicated, the amount of steps is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's insane.
Right. So if we are not efficient at each one of those steps, and if we're wasting time, these projects could take forever.
Yeah.
So really it comes down to, it's not just execution, it's independent thought to get it done. Right. And that's what, again, you also said you were a hockey player, so that didn't hurt.
Yeah, that helped too, because I know on the current website there's a blurb about you and Dan playing basketball, and I poked a little fun. I said, I'm not much of a, I kind of play basketball like I play hockey, so that was an immediate connection. You told me that you were a Canadian guy and you had been playing hockey growing up, and it was as easy as, come stop in the office, and I had a talk with you and Dan at the round table in his desk there, and I felt like we were just I guess it was kind of like an interview, but it was more, we were just like,
Look, we're super
we were just
casual
shooting the shit,
about-
honestly. Like that was how it felt to me. I was like, we're just having a conversation, and then it was like, Dan liked me. I think you guys both valued the fact, and like I said, I wasn't sure. I was like, do I go up and introduce myself? And it was like, I was like, you know what? That's the guy. Like, maybe this doesn't turn into anything. Maybe it turns into a job. Like, I'm just going to go and introduce myself. And like Dan valued that. I know you valued that. And then it was like next day, it was like meet with Brennan, and like, went well. And it was basically a phone call after that and was like, when can you start? And like, just a crazy turnaround. But, that's how I got here. So
Cool. So, we'll stay on this topic for a little bit. So when you got here, and look, I agree. I think the website has a couple of different perspectives, and I think we're, again, execution. We're busy executing for our clients. So I'm not saying we leave ourselves behind, but we are now. I think what was really missing was the details of the execution on the website, and I think this is why, again, our podcasts are that's why we're focusing on this, right?
Yeah.
'Cause really, it comes down to, I'm kind of tired of repeating myself, and not just that. There's so many people out there that sound like they do what we do, except they don't. They drop you off at the bus stop when they're done with you, right?
Yep.
Like, and again, I work with patent attorneys, and this isn't a knock on them, but they don't manufacture. So that when they're finished doing the patent, you do get dropped off at the bus stop. Then maybe a prototype company picks you up. They take you so far, and then they drop you off at the bus stop.
Yep.
Then there's a sourcing agent that will take you, and then they will drop you off at the bus stop at like some manufacturers. And now you're left to communicate all this on your own.
Yep.
And, the reality is when people come to us, that it's the poor execution that kills me, because you're pretty much out of money at that point.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
I could have done everything different to help you not spend the money. And so, again, that's my biggest challenge of talking to new, and I use the term wantrepreneur. A wantrepreneur wants to do everything to the point of spending money to actually execute on putting a team together. You see how many people touch every product that comes through here. How could you, now knowing in just 8 months of what we do, could you bring a product to market by yourself?
No, absolutely, like no shot. And that's and I wasn't not necessarily knocking the website. I think there is just so much information of all these different nitty gritty steps to bringing a product to market that I was like, there's just so much here. I was like, it was hard to comprehend. And so that's why I came to the podcast and watched some things. But it's like, you know, being on the internal side, it's like, and it's funny because until you're really in the industry, it's like, you know, and now, I mean, I've always had more or less an eye for design, but it's like every time you go and like I'll see any product anywhere, you know, you're at the store.
Right, yeah.
It's like
They're everywhere.
It's like they're everywhere. You hold it and it's like, you know, before being here, it's just like you're a consumer. You see a product, like maybe I'm going to buy it. You don't really think too much about it. It's like, yeah, it's there. You just kind of accept it. But it's like now I have an appreciation for like everything that went into getting it there, getting it on the shelf. Like, yeah, there's just the amount of steps is insane. And it's like,
it's never ending.
No, it is. It just.
Well, and look, that's a good point. That's why we consider ourselves a launch company, right? At the end of the day, executing has 2 stages. It's got more, but to keep it simple, you know, the launch, getting onto the launch pad where you can start to, it's the finish line of what we do. It's the starting line of the business,
yeah.
Right? And then there's this whole other thing that we delve into as well. But, you know, again, topic today is execution. And, you know, going back to the entrepreneur topic, people who want to do things and want to show people and want to get affirmation, that's great. Do that on low budget. Don't hire people to do that. Make your prototype in your garage, go to do things. The difference between, because that exact process then needs to be done the way we do it to actually manufacture and create a product. A product is about the consumer experience. It is not about your invention. Mm-hmm. And that is a huge part that people misunderstand. And so they bring their invention to market versus bringing the consumer product that they invented to market.
Right.
And that's, again, where you go from being a amateur entrepreneur to a professional entrepreneur by having the right team with you to be able to do that and execute on that. And again, you know, I think we bring so much knowledge to the table. And you just alluded to it. You're young. You're out of college, but you're experienced and you're savvy, right? And that's what we're looking for. There's a disruptive model that we've created to get an idea to revenue. Mm-hmm. And we, you know, let's stress that again. It's to revenue. It's not to market. We understand that if you're going to take a risk and put an idea for, you know, our clients need to get to revenue so they can make money. Mm-hmm. And that's our goal ultimately with everybody. Yeah. So in the product development world, obviously we've hammered on that. And I think there's plenty of podcasts that you can watch that talk about our process there. We don't have we have podcasts about marketing, but more the execution of spending the dollars, how we have to find target customers, the crap behind the curtain, so to speak, the bells and whistles, the buttons and stuff. Mm-hmm. You are, and Brendan is, you guys are unique. You guys are on the content creative side, right? Mm-hmm. So let's talk about execution on a few things, right? We've had a couple of pitch events, right?
Yep.
We live stream, we videotape, we actually provide recordings and edited film to the people that are pitching if they wish to do that. Obviously, we just charge them for editing time because it does take time. How many hours of footage is needed to make a 30-second spot?
Well, so that was, I mean, I know, you know, at this point, since I think you guys had done some pre-pandemic, pandemic happened, obviously postponed a lot of things. And so we had one in Texas in March and then just one here in Boston. I think March in Texas being just, we hadn't done one in a long time, and I didn't know exactly what we were.
Well, and we elevated the game big time. Like,
oh yeah, for sure.
What we did prior to that was just like events that we like created B-roll around.
Yeah.
In Texas, we wanted to document like the process,
right,
the experience, and talk to and interview people. So
yeah,
we had a pretty big checklist.
Yeah, no, and I mean, obviously, like I said, I don't know the jump from what it was before to even just Texas, but even the jump from Texas to here was huge. And so it's right, like, but from a content side, I wasn't sure exactly what we were going to be cutting up. So I was just filming everything, and it was like, I think it was like a terabyte of footage, which is like 1,000 gigabytes, and B-roll, interviews. We had main camera, B camera, going to the panel. We were flying on the gimbals. It was like we were just getting as much content as we could.
And technically, we could create 30 more pieces
Oh
of
yeah,
content.
easily. And then that's the hardest part, is when you have 1,000 gigabytes of footage and you bring it down to 30 seconds. So, but then going in the second time, it was a little more clear, just kind of aftermarket, what succeeded, what exactly we were going in for. And we had a little bit more of a plan, but it's like, it's still, you know, it was a 2-man crew, and we have, I mean, we had some help too, like, with audio, but it's like, there's so many little key pieces, like to having a 4-camera setup is like,
It's 4 times the failure opportunity.
yeah. And you're micing people up, and it's like, you know, so I'm on the gimbal, and then they're switching. It's like, put the gimbal down, take the mic off someone, put it on the next person, make sure all the cameras are still going. Like, we were running around. I remember my friends. No, my friends are like, oh, how was it was in College Station. How was College Station? Like, how was Texas? And it's like, it's not like I had time to let my hair down. Like, we were.
It was a full job.
Yeah, and it was like, and then you'd finish recording everything, and then it's like, I got to go back to the hotel and offload all the cards and format all the cards so you have room to do it the next day and charge all the batteries. It was like, we had a ton of footage, but
So we're partially sharing this because, again, I think most people's perception is, well, I got my phone, I can just take a pic. Like, there is an easy way to do things. But in today's world, how important is content creative in marketing?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't even know if, honestly, anyone needs to be sold on how important content creation is. I feel like
They still do, believe me.
Okay.
Look,
So
look, it's a generation of, like, you know,
that's fair.
like, okay, it's one commercial, right? You see the same commercial over and over. Well, you don't. How many Geico commercials are there? How many different Geico characters are there?
I know.
How many different Progressive, like, you know, insurance gets it, Coca-Cola gets it. Like, you know, the examples are out there. People think, oh, just put a commercial, you know,
Yeah.
I am so-and-so. And, you know, if there's no creativity to your commercial, what are you doing?
Yeah, it just flops, and that's like Geico. Geico's ad spend is ridiculous, and it's like all these, you know, to pre-plan. Like, a lot of the times, it's kind of, oh, I have this product, and like, I need to make a commercial for it. It's like, it's not so black and white where it's like, okay, I'm gonna make a commercial. It's like, all right, now what? It's like, yeah, you can go the route if you want to use your iPhone. Like, phones are getting good with the cameras now, but it's like, you can do a lot as an entrepreneur,
right? Like, if you have your phone and you want to do things yourself, you can do that, but you're really creating like a small garage hobby.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and again, this is the point that I stress on, is that someone who has a good idea. Okay, first of all, they say that 90% of businesses fail because they're startup. I will tell you that's the exact opposite number we have in our camp. Because it fails because you don't have enough money to get to launching. If you have a product idea and you are not at the position where you can actually sell it to somebody, then you're wasting your time. If you go to a trade show prior to executing on the product development, having all the photography, the website, all the, you know, conversations that are going to happen online, you're wasting your time. If you're not going to a trade show to get a purchase order, it's like, why are you spending the $10,000 to $15,000 to go there? To get a pat on the back? Same thing. To me, prototyping is extremely important, but I would not spend money on a prototype. I would spend money on a pre-production sample. That's a huge difference, because a pre-production sample now teaches me what my costs are going to be. I can help reduce my costs. This is all part of the execution strategy. Again, this is the difference between an amateur and a professional. And when you go to market with an amateur product, you're going to get treated like an amateur. You're never going to make money at it. The moment, the ZMOT, the zero moment of truth, is something Google's defined. To me, is when people start telling you, wow, that's a really good idea. How come you haven't brought that to market yet? And that's where, if you know people are going to buy your product, and this is where, again, when you go and spend $20,000, and people don't realize prototyping is expensive. You're making professional models. That is great for companies like Hasbro and Sunbeam, and you know, that's a drop in the bucket for them, and they're going to do a lot more due diligence because they're bringing like what I call A-list products to market. But you and I, meaning the consumer or the inventors, we're bringing a good idea that isn't in the market yet, so we have a little bit more leeway to get started and then develop as we grow.
Yeah.
And I just find the shortcuts that people try and take, and they don't think they're shortcuts. It's Mark Cuban. He is just, he uses the word entrepreneur in a very derogatory, offensive manner. I believe you do have to be a bit of a entrepreneur for a while until you decide, okay, you know what, I need to execute on this. And when you need to execute on it, whether you hire us or not, you have to execute it on a high level.
Yeah.
Like
on a lot of, we're surface level of what we've been talking about, things you need to execute on. It's like, and I don't know a ton just from where I am. I don't know a ton about like prototyping and getting, which is like insane, like how many steps are there. And then I obviously know more about the marketing side and the content creation side. And I know how many steps are inside of that too. And it's just like, it just keeps going, and you need to execute on all those, and you can't neglect one of them or a couple of them, or else you're not gonna.
Well, and that's why, again, it needs a team, because you have to break it up. There's so much work that goes into the production side of it that, it's exhausting. And if they then were also the same team that had to do the content creative, it wouldn't be as good as a fresh set.
Yeah, for sure.
It's almost like you need a bit, there's points along the way that you need a fresh start. You need to like be able to say, okay, great job, done, move on. Now it's the next team's job to basically get this. So yeah, let's talk about product execution from a content marketing standpoint. And I know earlier, and to go back, the reason why 90% of the companies fail is because they've a la carted everything along the way, and they run out of money to actually be cohesive.
Yep.
And I always like the analogy. I like one person to yell at because they're accountable. When I have 4 or 5 different people, like companies that are trying
different firms that
firms that are trying to put something together for you. Look, I think their intent is all there. They do a good job, but they don't have the intent of how does this make money at the end.
Yeah.
Right. And so everybody here is focused on that one word, revenue. I'm going to throw it back to you. When you are creating a product or when you see a product for the first time and you are trying to figure out what the content it needs to look like, what's the motivation? Like how is it, how's this product look, or how's someone going to buy this product?
Yeah, I think it's for the most part, it's the latter, but I think it is both. It's, looking at it through a consumer's lens is like, if I'm going to buy this product, what problem is being solved? And then on a content side for me and Brennan, how do we, in pre-production and then when we're actually shooting, how do we plan to show this problem happening and then showing it being solved as well? So, and it is very project dependent, certain,
Yeah, of course.
Like, every project's different, but I would say it's a good fallback to come back on is what problem are we solving, and then what's the best way to showcase that. And, there's, you got social media trends and TikTok, Reels, YouTube Shorts. A lot of short form content has been the takeover for a couple years at this point, and it's still there's no it's not slowing down.
I dated myself because I am speaking to the Gen X and Boomers. When I say commercials, it's what they understand.
Yeah.
But the reality is commercials are outdated.
Yeah.
Like,
for sure.
There's a very specific type of commercial that still works, but for the most part, everything is online.
Yep.
Everything is like, if you're not creating a short format video that grabs people's attention in 3 to 5 seconds and keeping their attention for the next 20 seconds to get them to click through on a Facebook, again, it's interruption. It's an interruptive medium now that you need to be creative to basically get that click. You also have to be super targeted, so we're not offending someone that sees why am I seeing this video?
Yep.
Right. Like that. Like once you get past those 2 things, and you like, again, how much execution goes into that?
Yeah, it's crazy, and it's like you're saying. And I realized this after I said it, was like, I don't think anyone needs to be sold on how important social media is. But then you're talking generational, and it's true. I know.
Tell your mom how important.
I was gonna say older generations per se, definitely maybe not as in tune with how important and prevalent it really is. But that's all it is now. It's like I don't watch TV. It's like you're on your phone. It's like And you talked about kind of captivating that attention in those first 3 to 5 seconds. And since it is shorter videos and a lot of people, you know, you're scrolling. It's like 3 seconds is on the larger end of how long you need to keep someone's. It's like,
Yep.
if you don't get someone,
as you're flipping, think about that.
Oh, yeah.
That's fractions of a second as you're scrolling.
If you don't get someone's attention at the very start, and that comes back to how we're planning. It's like, what are we going to do that we can kind of grab someone's attention, and maybe they don't even click it, or they just watch the whole thing, but then how is it going to stick in their mind? A big piece is like entertainment too. A lot of ads like, there's so many different things that you need to check off to have a successful ad or just a social media post. It's like,
that's a great point, Alex, because, and again, I'm equating it back to history repeats itself. It really does, right? So watching the Motown documentary with Barry Gordy, and just talking about how they knew to be successful on the radio, their songs had to start boom, like there was this whole period that they were in where there was all this crescendo, and it, you know, the song didn't start for about 30 seconds in. Motown realized that if we're going to be competitive in this market, like, the Temptations got to come out. You know, I'm going to leave you.
Yep.
Like, it was just, man, it gets right into it, and that was their thing. Like, it was understanding the platform, and just to be clear, television is not dead, but it's a dying medium, right? And it's not that it doesn't have its place. It's just the audience has shifted, right? So you have to, like, advertising has to migrate with where the people are. And so where are people today? They're watching Netflix. They're not watching cable.
Yep.
They're social media streaming, right? Or looking or communicating or watching YouTube shorts.
Yep.
How much time do people spend listening to podcasts these days?
Yeah, podcasts.
Right? Podcasts has absolutely replaced radio.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like, I listen to a bunch of podcasts. I like the Joe Rogan Experience, not necessarily for Joe Rogan. I think he does a great job, but I love his guests, right? Like, I don't listen to the comedians. I listen to, like, the entrepreneurs, the inventors, like, the, you know, the people that like give insight to, you know, how businesses grow and what they've been through. But, you know, look, I can tell you his 3 advertisements, you know, it's always Roku sunglasses. It's like, and they're all local. So I don't even know how he makes money other than, like, viewership. But
Yeah.
like, that's a platform also that sunglass company that's in Austin, Texas, that he promotes, and the Kentucky, it's a whiskey maker. Like, those guys would never have a shot to have that much audience on a network television ever in the history of television.
Yeah. It's
right?
insane. Yeah. Like you said, you know, podcast is the new medium. I mean,
yeah, hence,
case in point, we are making one right now. Not that we are.
No, we're using it for education.
No. I was going to say not that we're as big as
No.
Joe Rogan.
No.
Or,
well, I think we're impactful in our area of expertise, right? So the whole purpose of these podcasts is to help you understand that, look, everybody has a great idea. And look at that, Sarah Blakely. I'm not stealing that. She's the one who said that. I believe everybody has 2 great ideas. I think everyone is afraid to execute on that idea, and I get it. It means, like, you know, borrowing money. It's getting into debt. But the upside to that is, you know, you have an opportunity to make a living. And in today's world, you don't have to wait for Walmart. You can put a product on Amazon. You can go on Shopify. We can go on Facebook. Like, all these places that these small companies now have this ability to do. You just have to want to do it, and you have to be diligent in not wasting money where it cannot be wasted. So again, good segue to talk about our production value versus the budget that we are actually working with.
Yeah.
Right, for our client product launches.
Yeah.
And then let's also talk about some subject matter. I'm going to make you a little uncomfortable right now. VBAC, right? So this is a look at. Melissa is a fantastic inventor. She's an incredibly smart woman. You know, she's bringing something that I think is revolutionary to women that are older, right, in their 40s, pre-menopause, after menopause. I have, believe it or not, this is not the first vaginal dryness, like, product that we have been involved with. I think this is the best one we've been involved with because it really solves a problem from a unique perspective. And I think, you know what, it's liberating to still have, as you get older, to have a sexual identity, right? So I think it's empowering women, and I think that's something that, we're so excited for her to bring this product to market. So I'm plugging VBAC. Go to myvbac.com. You can go check it out. If you're a woman over 40, you will appreciate the product and you will love Melissa. The challenge that we had is it got thrown on your desk, right?
Well, so I was going to say
how do
that's
you demonstrate that without like breaking all the rules of like not being able to talk about what it actually does.
Yeah. And that definitely comes back to.
And I'm bringing it up because I think you guys did a phenomenal job.
Thank you. Yeah, we were really happy with how that turned out. But a lot of the times it's just, you got to think outside the box. It's like, obviously for something like that, it's like, you can't really get to, sometimes in the contract, we have a demonstration video and, or like a how-to, and,
this is not demonstratable.
For this specific product, there couldn't be a how-to for obvious reasons. So, we just had to go in and figure out, what was the best way to get it done. And in shooting in the white studio that you see behind us, brought in some lights, and it's like, how can we kind of show what this is without really, actually showing it in use. And
what shots did you come up with?
So one of the ones that,
because it's a lubricant, right? It's about being lubricated at time. It's almost like Viagra, that you can take a pill and then 2 hours later, it's all ready to go if that moment of encounter comes up.
Right. So we were, one of the shots that I thought worked pretty well was, we'd set up the camera low, and so you have the bottle of lube, and then you have the actual unit, which is like a saucer, a disc more or less. And so we had those sitting there, and it's like, how can we show what this product does without, getting graphic? And so we put a glass and shot kind of like pouring water into the glass from above. And it was like, if it has the website copy and you can kind of know that, it gets the point across without, without getting graphic. And then we also did, we ended up getting a fish tank too. And this was a crazy, just like, it's all.
I watched you for days.
Yeah,
my office shares as the podcast room, so I get to watch Alex.
Yeah, it's a lot of run and gun, and so like what we needed to do. So this thing, it kind of like floated, and the idea behind the shot was the disc going into the water, breaking the surface, and you'd see the bubbles coming up. So we did that for the saucer and for the actual bottle itself, and it was a lot easier for the lubricant bottle. For the actual unit itself, it floated, so you'd drop it and it would just sit on the surface, and you'd kind of throw it in, and it really wasn't getting it. So we had to like, the unit itself is pink, so we got like pink thread, and it has holes in it, thankfully, and we made a little contraption where it was attached to something at the bottom of the fish tank, and you would kind of pull up, and so the string came up and down, and it would go straight down, and it took, hours to get that one shot, just like from. So it's not, but it came out perfect.
Well, so we should definitely make sure you put that B-roll or that.
We'll
in this podcast.
Yeah, we'll definitely overlay that and some of the other shots that we got. But that is like you're saying.
Well, it's execution, right?
So,
So again, we know what the end result needs to be, and I think that is really the focus here. And this is my challenge with everybody. If your end result isn't to get your product to revenue, first of all, throw away the idea that you're ever going to get your product licensed. Like, you can start looking at horror stories of licensing. It just doesn't exist today in the world. It doesn't need to, and it shouldn't exist. Licensing now has moved or transferred over to, and if you watch Shark Tank, this isn't me. This is the way it just works right now. I don't make the rules. I just know how to play the game. And so, hate the game, don't hate the player. The strategy is, if you know where the deal is, that's what you got to get to. You've got to get to, I'm not saying you have to get on a Shark Tank, but you have to be able to answer the Shark Tank questions. What is the number one question they ask? It's, what are your sales? Mm-hmm. That's because it answers, have you executed properly for it? Is it the product the consumer wants? That one question answers 90% of the challenge in execution that you need to get to. The next question they ask is, well, up until about 3 years ago, it was, what are your margins? The reality is, your second question now in Shark Tank in its new era is, what's your cost of acquisition? And your cost of acquisition is totally dependent on your content creative, right? And how many different audiences could a product have, and how many different content creatives is actually could be needed to hit each one to speak to them directly.
Yeah, I mean, there's a million different angles you can approach like any product, and it comes down to knowing what's going to be the most effective, what's going to actually sell that product, and
it ends there, right? It's not an ongoing journey that you constantly have to recreate content. Like you just make one thing and you're done.
Yeah, no. So that's I think that's another misconception sometimes. It's like people talk about just the steps. It's like, okay, like I spent this money to make this shoot happen. It's like, so now I'm done. It's like, no, there's ad spend that you need to get to actually push that in front of people, instead of there's an organic approach too, where you just make you have your TikTok account, then there's ads.
Well, let's talk about the organic. How many videos and pieces of content would you have to put up every day to make some sort of dent into TikTok?
Oh, I see. Obviously, there's a ton of markets, but I see people saying that you should post 3 times a day.
Right.
So
how
it's
much
like
content do you have to do to make 3 posts a day? Editing time, like.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a full-time job.
It's more than a full-time job if it's a one-person operation, and you're the one who say you're on camera, and you're the one who you're the inventor. It's like it's an insurmountable amount of work, and back to execution. It's like if you're posting 3 times a day, they say you're supposed to go to like a similar niche and like comment on some other post like maybe once a day, or just like really just being reluctant and just always in your face with all these things is like.
Anybody that doesn't know, just do the challenge yourself. Go on any medium, post 1 creative content every day, and you tell me at the end of 30 days if you get through 30 days.
I was gonna say if you make it to 30.
If you make it to 30. So again, in the podcast world as well, I didn't realize that they said that like 30, the number 30 in podcasts, over 30 podcasts, you're in the 1 percentile. That's how. What do we talk about?
There we go.
Yeah, we're at 34. What do you talk about on a podcast, right? So this is, again, where, I like this type of format where we came up with, like, a concept this morning. Let's talk about it. So let's switch over to Stinkies, right, which is, again, another great product. So this is a product that they're flip-flops that are infused with coconut smell. And the more you wear them, the better they smell. Pretty cool product.
Yeah.
How do you demonstrate that without smell on in our medium of advertising and social media?
Yeah. Well, and this isn't by any means a knock on the brand, or the inventor, but this was a scenario where we didn't have a ton of a ton of money to put into the production, so. Yeah, it really comes down to problem solving. It's like, how are we gonna? So there's no one's actually wearing the flip flops. We again shot in the studio right behind us, and it came out great. I think this might have to be another segment where we kind of overlay the footage over here. But for
fantastic product. I highly recommend. Go to stinkies.com. We'll put it on the screen here.
Yeah.
I know it's spelled with a Y in it.
Yeah, there's a little.
But yeah, look, I love them. They're actually my favorite flip flops to walk around in now. And like you get in the car and you're like, you warm all day at the beach, and it's like, wow, it's coconutty.
It smells like coconut.
It's pretty cool.
That's right. Yeah.
Again, I can tell you on the execution side, I can tell you about 10,000 ways that it doesn't work, and probably about 50 different levels of coconut infusion that didn't work to meet the standard that we were looking for.
Yeah, well, and that comes back to what I was saying earlier about like you see a final product, and like before being here, it's like, you're a consumer, and it's like, since you are the consumer, you can look at it and have all these judgments about it and like have high standards for it basically, but then it's like when you really take a step back and look at all the decisions that had to be made, like you're talking about.
No, there's a million decisions.
Like how potent is the smell of coconut? It's like you just as a consumer, you just kind of accept, or like, and it's like, why is this costing? Where's this cost coming from? And it's like stuff as simple as that. It's like you need to test out these things. It's like you need to see it doesn't.
How much
it
is
doesn't,
too much? How much is not enough?
Exactly.
It's like
It doesn't
Goldilocks,
smell
right?
enough. It's knocking me out. It's like there's a gauge, and that's again back to very project specific. It depends what the project is, but for this one,
it's going up to strangers with a flip flop and say, "Hey, smell this."
yeah, I mean,
So it's
yeah,
it wasn't an easy one to.
yeah.
There's
Not
some
that
trust that went into.
not that we're always
flip-flop.
testing with random strangers, but it's like there is a testing process, and there is all these back end decisions and things that you need to gauge before a product can really
and that's before
really
it gets
come to
to
market. Yeah. I know we had a brief conversation about what's the relationship with design, manufacturing, and they kind of more focus on obviously making what that product is and what it's going to solve. And then once it's made, once all those decisions, all those unimaginable amount of steps have been completed, then it comes to us. We have the final product, and now we just need to bridge that gap between design and actually getting it to people. So
Right.
what's going to be able to sell it? What's going to be the quick short-term videos? What are the attention grabs? What problem are we solving so that we can keep coming back to that and show the audience that we're solving that? And I mean,
Yeah,
back to execution. How are we going to execute, get this product out there? And
is there shortcuts?
content creation is the name of the game.
Is there shortcuts to content creation?
I wouldn't say that there's shortcuts. I think there's tools per se that you can use, especially here we are in June 2023. I know ChatGPT's been around for a while.
AI.
Adobe just released, it's been out for about a month now. We've been playing around with generative fill and Adobe Firefly, and this is really the surface level. And I don't think, not to get on too much of an AI tangent,
Absolutely.
but I don't think,
Yeah, but no, I'm telling you, I like this tangent because I think there's a million people out there. Look at everyone that's an entrepreneur is a DIYer, and they want to get to this place to themselves without spending any money.
yeah,
And so there is going to be hope and belief. And look at, there's going to be some people that have the skills to absolutely do it from A through Z. That is fantastic. And you can call us and come work for us, right? It's the other 99% that are thinking, oh, this is going to be so easy. I'm just going to get the product made. I'm going to get a prototype. I'm going to throw some video together. I'm going to throw it in ChatGPT. It's going to script it. And then people are going to send me millions of dollars and take it over.
yeah. And that's, I think, just with AI, I think a lot of people, myself included, it's like, and hopefully it's definitely going to get rid of some jobs, but that's just, technology advances and things go out. There's always going to be jobs, but it's not like it's going to get rid of, they're dropping all this stuff. And as someone who's in Photoshop all the time, I'm like, what am I needed for? It's like you can just lasso tool something and say, add, and we were playing around with this morning. It's like you have Stinkies and it's like flat lay, and you go add coconut, and it's not perfect,
Right.
which
But it's good.
we'll see how it goes, but it's also, it's not like you still need background skills. You can't just go into a project like this and it's a one click and it's done. And I think that's a misconception, and there's always going to be, if you have an eye for design, for photography,
right.
that's always going to be needed. While there are these tools, and like we haven't even and it is still surface level, but it's like it's not replacing your photographers, your designers, your graphic designers. Right now, it's a good source of inspiration, and it's good. I can just type something into Firefly, and it'll whip something up 10, 15 seconds, gives you 3 iterations. None of them are perfect, but they can be good starting points. So you can't just rely on AI to do, because there's no, it's lifeless. There's no human interaction in it, and it's like
You hit it right on the
you
nose.
can tell those things.
It's a tool to execute.
Yeah.
Right. But you still have to have skill. You have to have the understanding. I mean, I use it to write emails. Now, anybody that knows me knows that that's not me writing that email. Right. Like when you use ChatGPT that uses polite words that I would never.
Yeah.
And, it's got proper grammar and spelling.
Right.
So that's not me. But it's a tool that I use to get through a large sum of follow-up conversations. I'm in demand. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying that what we do is I answer a lot of questions before people get started. Going back to the tool, so there's lots of tools. Let's talk about preparation to execute, right? Because I think that's a whole other ball of wax. We talked about we talked about the event in College Station, Texas. What did you and I do to get to College Station?
Yeah, so pretty unique experience, I'd say, to get down to Texas. We needed our van down there. We had a couple large products that needed to go down. Going back to being hockey guys, not too scared of a road trip, and it's funny because we were in the office, and I know you had mentioned it's like, oh, do you want a road trip to Texas? And like, I honestly thought you were kidding at first, but I was like, yeah, I'd road trip to Texas, and you're like, yeah, we could stop in Nashville, and I was like, make that happen. That seems pretty sweet. So, and then it's it's like Monday, and we were leaving on like Friday, I think, and someone came up to me and was like, oh, you ready for Texas? And I was like, yeah, I'm ready. And then it was like, oh yeah, like, and I was like, when is that? And I was like, that's this weekend. And then I go in here and people are talking about their flights, and like Dan had a flight, and I'm like, all right, what's my deal? And then I come in and talk to you, and it's like, yeah, we're driving down. And I was like, oh, you were serious about that? It's like, all right, well, I guess I bought the ticket, so let's drive down there. So
I just look at it, and we looked at it like, it's not that I wanted to drive. It actually turned out, again, execution is everything, because in that execution there was something that happened. We'll talk about that in a second. But it was like, hey, are we going to put all this gear on a plane? JetBlue, and they were fantastic, but I've never checked a bag with them in my life. I don't check bags when I get on. Mm-hmm. We have two big products. So really, by the time we added the cost, by the time we did everything, and we still had to go rent a car down there because we needed a vehicle down there. Oh yeah, how screwed would we have been?
Yeah,
if we didn't have a car down there?
Absolutely needed it, and it helped that it was a van because we had that many more seats and that much more room. But yeah, and I even forgot about the piece of all the equipment. It's like all the cameras, like we were talking about the setup, like all those cameras, the gimbals, the microphones. It's like it's a lot of money. And if something were to happen to that bag,
that was more than anything. Like you can't replace some of the stuff that we would need down there if it got lost.
Yeah,
and we can't just go to Best Buy and get the next
And it's like maybe we could, but you're looking at you're looking at over $10,000 and like on buying stuff that we already have.
And not just that, we have dates. So if it says Amazon says it's coming at 10:00 on Thursday night, the show's over.
Yeah,
that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right? So look at. Again, when you're executing, it wasn't the decision to just, hey, let's arbitrarily drive down. It was because in order to execute, I wasn't taking chances on stuff that there was already enough on our plate that could go wrong. And that was more than I was already dealing with some of that. People, look, it's like wrangling cats. When you're trying to get, 5 to 7 investors that are prominent investors, they don't have time. So wrangling cats to have them as part of our pitch event. Then also getting all the people that are presenting who get nervous and want to bail at the last minute, right? Like keeping them at calm. So I didn't want to have to worry about the equipment not working when we got there. Mm-hmm. And it was nice having 2 days in advance to prepare, location scout, understand. They told us, no problem, we have plenty of microphones. What happened when we opened the closet of microphones?
Yeah, the microphones, they were all shot. It's like
they were right. They had microphones, but they were like the chintziest little...
Yeah, they were brutal. I mean, we didn't even know if they worked, and, it's a good thing we brought our own, but it's like...
But we still had a bit of a plan B there, right? Because we were thinking, mic up every presenter, and as well as having one in front of all the investors. That went to hell pretty quickly.
Yeah, no, it definitely did.
So, but look at execution. The show's got to go on. We still executed at a very high level, and we got what we needed.
Mm-hmm.
How much effort went into that?
A ridiculous amount. It was nice to drive there and just,
we did have some head clearing time. We had some fun in Nashville, for St. Patrick's Day. It was good.
Yeah, a lot of fun. But it was also good to just kind of, I personally never mind a road trip. It was nice to have just open road and just be just kind of be at bay and not really kind of step away from, since we had all this prep beforehand, you know, packing everything, what shots are we going for. It was nice to have a little time to just kind of hang out, be at bay, and then also, you know, blow off some steam in Nashville and New Orleans on the way back.
Well, that's just it. Like not only did we didn't really have the plan on the way back, we just knew that it was going to be more grueling than the ride down.
Yeah.
Because getting back is always a little bit more grueling.
Yeah.
And then we opted to say, you know, hey, what happens if we add an extra 2.5 hours to our trip and detour to New Orleans?
New Orleans. It was like we might as well. It's like we're already down here. We gotta drive.
What's another 2.5 hours?
Yeah.
Crash in New Orleans for an evening. Go to dinner. Go see Bourbon Street. And
Yeah. No, that worked out great. My cousin's in New Orleans too, so it was like, and I hadn't seen him in a while, and I was like, called him up and said, "Hey, you in town?" And got to see my cousin. It was just like
you got to bring your bike back.
I got to bring my bike back. I went on a road trip
because we had the van.
So. Because we had the van, I bought a bike when I was on a road trip with him, and I thought I was never going to see that bike again. And now it's my daily commute into work. I never thought I'd see it again. I was like, it's in New Orleans. I'm not paying all this money to have it shipped out, and he's got to go put it in a box and all this yada yada. And we had room in the van. I was like, Pete, can we throw my bike? And we had room, and
plenty of room.
It made it back. So
yeah. So I'm gonna add the bit of the conversation, right? So here's two guys. You were pretty new with us, right? So like I'm pretty much asking a stranger, let's go. Let's go. Spend a week together. In a cramped van.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the things I remember. It was, I forget, maybe I was 3 months in around there, and I was like, we're like driving down, and I'm like just taking a step back. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm like, I saw this guy in Marshall's 3 months ago. Just gave like a little introduction. Was like, this is what I do. Hope to stay in touch. Maybe it'll turn into something. And I was like, and now we're just driving to College Station, Texas. I'm like, this is
we should throw
ridiculous.
Some of the pictures up that like on our in this podcast. 'Cause I think I've been trying to find a place for the little road trip pictures that we had. In the last minute, my daughter came with us.
Yeah,
because she broke up with her boyfriend. I'm like, hey, you want to take a week and come to College Station with us? She's like, okay.
Yeah.
And then you kind of threw a little curveball in. On Thursday, I had a Thursday from hell, and I'm planning on leaving Friday. And you're like, hey, what do you think if we left tonight at like midnight? It's Thursday, and I'm exhausted. Maya's not even like home yet. She's coming back from her college. She's got this job in Connecticut that she had to 10 o'clock she shows up, and I'm like, hey, how fast would it take you to get packed?
Yeah.
So we packed, and she forgot some stuff. I had to buy some stuff along the way, but we left at midnight.
Yeah. I was happy with the executive decision to do that. It was
Well, we got to New Orleans. We got to Nashville with time to spare.
So that was the thing with that I was going through. I was like, if we're gonna be in Nashville, I kind of want to be there for 2 nights. So it's like, if we would have had to get up early on Friday anyways. Get up early, go, and it would only be 1 night. I was like, what's the difference of going at 12? So had a cup of coffee, had a Celsius, drove us from I think 12 to 6 a.m.
Yeah, you guys were Virginia or something like that.
Yeah, in and out of sleep here and there. I was like, you know what? It was my idea to go this late. I was like, I can stay up.
Yeah, I think I took over about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't say I was well rested. I got a little bit of sleep here and there, but
van sleep is definitely it's definitely no bed. So,
but look at the whole point of this is obviously we're doing this to document the history, but it's to show the level of commitment, and we execute on ideas. I don't care how down and dirty we have to get. We've been told that we're a scrappy little startup. We're not. We do things because if we're going to execute, we're going to do it at a high level, and we're going to commit to getting things done. Now, when you take that mentality, right? Like in your world, you got your bike back that you never thought you were going to see. In my world, I was actually just looking forward to. I knew there was a Nashville Predators game.
Oh yeah,
1 o'clock on Saturday.
Yeah.
And I, back in 2010, I spent some time in Nashville with another company, and I actually got to experience a game. And I knew they had inexpensive seats. What you and I experienced was a whole new stratosphere of what we did. So we bought tickets to go see the Nashville Predators
Yep.
on a Saturday matinee game. And what did we spend? It was
After, and taxes and fees, they always dock it on afterwards. After all those,
3 of us.
for 3 tickets, I think we were like $75.
Yeah. So how do you not go to a
Yeah.
Nashville Predators game? So the best, and again, apologize for those people that aren't in a hockey town. That here in Boston is, first of all, you barely get in. And
Yeah.
it's, anyway, it's expensive.
You
to go-
can't get in the door for under $100 at a Bruins game, especially this
No,
season.
per seat.
Yeah,
per seat.
per seat. Well, it's like you can't get in for under $100, and especially with, we don't want to touch too much about the about the Bruins season, but the regular season,
Right.
they
Yeah,
seem
they
to string
did
it
well.
together. Yeah, they seem to string it together.
So yeah, we were down in Nashville. We go see this game. It's like a no-brainer, right? And the experience was amazing because, like,
was incredible.
we get in the elevator, and the elevator conductor, I like say, yeah, take us to the cheap seats, and she turns around and gives me a whole earful of crap. Those aren't the cheap seats. That's the penthouse.
yeah.
And everybody in the elevator was like, yeah, this is the penthouse, and they like there's this whole culture to go into the rafters.
Yeah.
And it's standing room only, and we found a spot, and this couple with their kids, like, were in that same little space that was open for standing room only, and we were chit chatting amongst ourselves, they were chit chatting amongst themselves, and then finally, I was going to go get some food, and I said to them, I'm like, hey, let's make a rule. If you guys are staying here, let's make sure, like, if one of us leaves, no one comes in and takes a spot, right? And so that started a conversation. Well, turns out that in that they were driving from Bentonville, we were driving towards Bentonville,
Yep.
and this turned out to be a partner that we've been searching for the last 7 years. This is a gentleman. Their company is also called Launch, and like I didn't know that at the time. But in our conversations and what we've developed since then, and this is what I'm filling in you two, this is a company that is going to be bringing Lava Lunch and all of our own products as well as our clients' products to the opportunity to be in Target, Walmart. They are so connected. HEB. So huge plug to these guys. But this doesn't happen unless you execute, right? If we had decided to not execute on something, not take half the company's flying, 2 of us are driving. We executed on a high level so that we could deliver. And in that, there's always opportunity that it presents itself because you've taken that step forward. And if you're not taking steps forward in a high execution level, you're never going to get to where you think you're going to get to. And so high execution, we did the same pitch event here in Boston. What did we added to it, right? We did live stream.
Mm-hmm.
We did, and we added more to it. So
Yeah.
the only thing we didn't have to do is travel.
Right.
But-
yeah, which travel was amazing, but it was definitely nice to have everything in house here, and it's just like, instead of packing and driving all this way, it's like we just bring it from the back office to the.
Well, and here's what I liked also. Somewhere on the way back, you mentioned that you and Brennan might be doing another road trip within a week or 2 of us getting back to go do this massive photo shoot in Miami.
Yeah.
And so the part that I am, I'll say parent proud, because I'm not saying you guys are my kids, but like I like the fact that I can bring a bit of a Gen X, just get things done culture. I don't think if we went on a trip to Texas together that it would have even been an option to consider going to Miami with the same spirit, same mentality, and executing a product shoot that, quite frankly, would have been $100,000 anywhere else, at a shoestring budget, and the just the setup, the time, having that scrappy startup mentality is exactly what makes us who we are.
Yeah.
Because we don't fail, we get things done.
Yeah.
And we have a responsibility to our clients to make sure it's not just done. If they're paying us, it's done way beyond expectation.
Yeah.
So I wasn't on that trip. I think I planted the seed that it said, hey, you guys need the van.
Yeah.
The van.
Yeah. the Miami trip, there is nowhere to start with that trip.
Well, let's talk about the product, the Novo.
A Novo Plus. It's a modular paddleboard, breaks into 3 pieces. Very cool product. But again, it was this, we needed to drive down there because we had a quick turnaround time from launch. We shot in our Cyclorama wall 1 week, and the shoot was the next week.
Let's plug that for a second. We have a $30,000 20 by 12 cycloramic wall.
Yeah, which
with
we use all the time.
I know the lighting was
The
probably another $8,000, $10,000.
Oh yeah, the lighting's insane, and we just shot headshots for our website. A lot of interviews get done in there. Great addition to the place. We use it all the time.
And how valuable is that?
It
gets used all the time.
It's
right?
incredible. Yeah. And we are working on getting it available to public.
If someone out there needs to rent space, looking for space, I mean, our studio is open for that conversation as well.
Yeah. But so we shot a how-to, like an assembly video for it, and then quick turnaround. We needed to get it down to Miami. These are the only 2 that they had.
First 2 off the production line.
And it was like a little, we wouldn't have been able to ship them down fast enough. And it was just a little concerning, again, since those are the only 2, it's like if something were to happen in transit and these didn't make it down
you get
to
a
Miami,
voucher and say, hopefully we
yeah,
find them
it's like we would have been screwed. And so it was like, Brennan, and huge shout out to him. He does a lot of the, on top of being video, he does a lot of the back end stuff. So he was kind of figuring out this shoot and texted me and was like, it just made the most sense to drive down there again. And he texted me, I think we were still in Texas. So I was like, he's like, hey,
road worry.
Yeah, he's like, well, what do you think about driving down to Miami? And I was like, Brennan, give me like a week to. I was like, I still need to drive another like 24 hours home from this trip right now. I was like, I cannot think about driving down to Miami right now. I was like, give me a week and like I'll say I'm down for it. But like right now is like I can't do this. I was like, I'm too focused on the pitch event. I'm too focused on this drive right now. And that was what needed to happen. I think it was 3 weeks, maybe a month after we had gotten back, and it was make the edits for the pitch event, and then it was immediately into a Novo and just pre-production what was going to be. And this was prior to the pitch event. We were thinking, where's the best location for this? What's going to be most coherent or cohesive? Sorry, with the story that they're trying to tell. And like Miami was just, it was just perfect. And we have
Cochituate Pond is just up the street here. We could have gone to the little lake.
Yeah, so that's the thing is like it goes with how much you're willing to put into it. It's like if certain projects, it's like maybe we just shoot it in the wall because we don't have a ton of money. We don't have a ton that we can work with. This client was willing to get us down there, willing to pay for talent, which is models. That's
it's people that look good on.
Yeah, well, because I know Brennan would always say talent, and I was like, what does that even mean? So hiring models, which again is not cheap. That was male, female model, $1,200 a pop, so $2,400 for a day. We did 2 days, so you can do the math on that, and that's just to have talent, let alone me and Brennan's time and all the equipment that we have. We had to do some equipment rentals to get all those shots. But
and there's going to be in this podcast an entire series of photos, videos that you guys can B-roll just to show it. You guys, like, I saw the picture, you in a life jacket with the camera in the waterproof.
Yeah. That's a good one to overlay.
This. It's like, wait, we did that. Okay.
And like I said, I don't even know where to start with the Miami trip. I think just an hour before this, me and Brendan were kind of testing audio levels in here, and so we both just sat in and would just talk and see how the audio levels were. And he's like, "What should we talk about?" He's like, "We should talk about the Florida trip." And
you guys should do your own podcast on the entire Florida trip.
I think if that's not the next one, it's in the very near future where me and Brendan just sit down and
kick me out of my office anytime you guys want to do that. Because I think that story in itself it's not a story. It's the needed. So again, we talked about the difference between going, and you guys can look it up on the map. It's Cochituate Lake or whatever pond. It's here in Framingham. It's a park, so we could go and pay. We can get a permit. It's very easy. It's a nice little sandy beach. We've used it before for campgrounds. So again, when we're scrappy, we can go use that. However, that's what a entrepreneur would do, right? We have much bigger clients than what we're doing, but we can string all these together on budgets as long as we're covering costs and we're getting it done. Because at the end of the day, having a shoot in Miami with palm trees and where paddleboarding is like a huge sport, and getting that lifestyle photos and videos and drone shots, like all the things. You guys even rented a car on, let's plug, what was the company called?
I forget.
Touring or no?
I think it was Turo that we got the Jeep on, but it was like there's all these little details. It's like we needed a Jeep because we had the
lifestyle.
We had the same van, so it's like
you can use the 52 launch logo.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a big selling part of this board is the fact that it breaks down. Obviously,
and it fits in the back of the small part of the Jeep, right, which is it's incredible.
Yeah, and that unless you have a blow up paddleboard, which
they suck.
They're
they suck.
They're a little less they're a little less than ideal for most scenarios, and just so you either have a blow up paddleboard or you have this huge 10.5, 11, 12-foot board.
Which then makes you decide that you have to go get a roof rack. That means now that you're 5'2", and you're a young woman, you've got to put this big monster thing on your roof rack. You have to have trust that you strapped it down correctly.
It's hard to store. Like,
you can't bring it home.
Can't bring it into the apartment.
You forget to take it off, and you go into a parking garage. Like, now you've just ruined the board, the roof, and
you live in a city. You don't want a $1,000 paddleboard strapped to the roof of your car.
So again, the Novo Plus, the plus is that you get this incredible high-level paddleboard that also turns into a kayak that also breaks up into 3 sections, which makes it extremely storable. And when I tell you it's a high quality, like you are on that board, it's better than a lot of the boards out there.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Like just the design of the the water flow channels underneath make it like really glide well on the water. So huge kudos to the team that designed that, and our team that's helping develop and product, and kudos to you guys for demonstrating those unique advantage features that go into that.
Yeah, no, it was, and this was a client that came to us. They had already gotten it designed, gotten it manufactured, but they needed help marketing, and that's kind of what you're saying about bus stops. It's like they had a design team, they dropped them off, and it's like, okay, here's this. Maybe they connected them with the manufacturer, but now it's like...
Well, that's where we share. We actually are... we share that manufacturer. That's how we.
Oh, okay.
Right. So in conversations with, he's a very experienced rotomolder. So he's extremely good at what he does. But you're right. He who is very good at what he does dropped himself off at the bus stop and said, "I don't know what to do next. I know what I need, but I don't know who to go to." So that was just again serendipitous that we were down in Bryan, Texas at the same time, and we got to meet each other and have that conversation.
Yep. But so they came to us to marketing, and, that the reason we need to talk about this is just the amount of work that me and Brennan did that week was insane. And I think that even more so, like, people are like, oh, Miami, like, I know the nightlife's crazy. Like, there's all this stuff. Like, where'd you guys go? Like, did you go to the club, this and that? And it's like, we didn't have...
If you guys went to another hockey game.
Any downtime. Yeah, and we'll talk about that in detail in
your own podcast.
In the podcast. But we left Key Biscayne. This was the only downtime we had after being there for a week almost. We left Key Biscayne. The shoot went great. It was like there was like a monsoon during everything just fell into place, and we were just in flow state the entire time. Like, there was no time to think. We had our plan. A lot of things just, like I said, kind of fell into place, but I wouldn't say it was luck, and it was incredible. It was the most rewarding trip I've ever had, and we were ecstatic to come back and go and edit the footage and edit the photos, and it was just...
And 7 months before you were we were shopping at Marshall's.
Yep.
And so the opportunity, I hope you appreciate the opportunity. I'm happy that I can give you the opportunity
absolutely.
and build your portfolio, and like, not to lose you, but like, I understand how life works, right? Opportunity is, that moment intersection, it happens. So it's not luck. How much preparation did you guys do? And look, so two things. I did ask this question before we got on the podcast.
Yep.
And I was a little surprised, and I'm happy to hear that, again, the team, even though there's a marketing director and there is like copywriters and all this and that, there's people on your guys' team, but the fact that they give you open hands to go out and create the shots that they know you guys instinctively does, that to me saves countless months of prep time, because if you guys already have the vision, then usually you start with the script. Man, it's so much easier. Someone can give me the pictures that already.
Thought I was gonna sneeze.
No, that's all right. Yeah. But yeah, the fact that you guys were able to drive the screenshots that are needed to then make the script even more in tune with what you guys did, it, to me, speaks huge volumes of the entire team. That's how in sync you guys are. That there doesn't have to be. There's a leader, obviously, but there's leadership given to you guys to get things done at a creative level that, I hated working in a creative agency where the least creative person was one driving the creative notion.
Yeah.
Right. So that part was happy to hear. So, but before going on that trip, I mean, you must add a shot list.
Oh yeah. I mean, we, like I said, it comes back to what are the key selling features? What are the advantages of this board to a blow-up board, to a regular paddle board? And I keep saying paddle board. There's a kayak seat too, which is
pretty impressive.
Yeah, and it's it's a very unique product. But so it comes back to what can we do to make it sell? What are these key features? How do we harp down on them? Location, picking a location in, you don't want to go up to Lake Cotichuit. It's like we're looking at. Right. There's so many considerations. So even to pick Miami, and we did some location scouting beforehand, Yeah,
you get that 3 or 4 on the list.
Yeah, there's a bunch of places. We were thinking about going to Arizona. We were thinking about going to Lake Tahoe. It's just like, what is really going to speak to this brand? Because that's also what we're doing. We're not just shooting photos. It's like, this all goes into the website. This all is a part of their brand. It's like, what location, at least to start, what's going to be the best to launch them, and what is the location that's going to stick with people. So we had all that, and then it's, we needed a certain lens, a telephoto lens that zooms way in. We needed that because we're going to be shooting from shore, or shooting, if we didn't overlay that photo already, we'll overlay it now, where me and Brennan are like, you got this shot and you're like in the water. But so we had to, we got like a half dome too for the GoPro, so that you could do half and half shots. It's like all these.
You guys did some twilight shots too.
Yeah, we got out at night. We also did, we did sunrise. I actually went out the first. And this is why, like, we really need to talk about this, because we woke up at 5 a.m. this day, went to the beach, ran the boards over as the sun's coming up, got the shots, and went and we're shooting after the sun came up. It was just looked amazing, and so we were getting product photos. We had the models from, I think, noon to 8, and by the time we finished up with them, got everything squared away, we went and got food. It was like we made it back to the Airbnb for 10 o'clock at night, and it was like we woke up at 5 and left, and didn't get back till 10 o'clock, and that was the busiest day. But it's like, what, that's a 17-hour.
But
that was what was needed to get it done that day, and so it's like that's.
So again, I think the difference between us and everyone else is like we are getting our clients to reach revenue. Execution isn't about 40-hour work week.
I gotta punch out because I'm over my 8 hours today.
It is about getting the job done.
Yeah,
right? And it's getting a job done like that was a tight deadline, and that deadline kept kind of moving a couple of weeks on there. And again, I'm not criticizing. I understand that's how production works, right? But like that does tie into the conversation about, well, screw it, let's just get in the van, let's not take chances, let's go down, and let's make it happen and get back. And once you guys did that, right, that week causes the next 2 weeks of editing, filming, creating what shots, having the conversation with the client. And I mean, the level of smiles that left that room when they saw what we did. Look at, I like to say, it's just because, again, I come from a little bit of an agency world. I'd never want to be an advertising agency, because that's the people that say, well, you're getting branding. I want sales. We need revenue. And so I look at what is needed to get to revenue. And again, if you've got a little bit more in the budget to be able to make it better, we can make it amazing without that extra budget. But again, kudos to you, Brennan, and the entire marketing team on executing at such a high level that, look, I love the fact that we are getting more and more calls from people that are in market with a product and their agency sucks. I would highly recommend just fire them and hire a content creative team like us that can help you get the maximum results to the audience you're trying to get to. And it really does start with that. It's the content and showing the product and having the team that knows what the consumer lens looks like, because if you're not focused on the consumer, you're not in the right business.
Yeah, that's true.
That's it. Anything else you want to add? Because I think we've gone over our hour here.
I know. I think what's the hour 15, hour 20. So I feel pretty good. I think we covered a lot of fronts.
Well, look at, I always like to plug the podcast. I always like to get, a fresh perspective. And again, just detailing all the millions of steps that we do for our clients to get them to revenue. This was a great podcast, Alex. If you guys know any inventors, entrepreneurs, look at patent attorneys who are in this business, please share our content. This is about educating the same client that we're both working on. Our goal is to help anybody that's got an invention get it to revenue and do it effectively and really efficiently, so that we can make a bang where it counts. Everybody that can reach revenue and get them on, it's Moneyball, get them on the first base. To me, that gives you opportunity to have good things happen where people get to see your product, touch your product, buy your product, and advance your product to second base. And that's how you build any idea into a business. And that's what we do. And again, I can't do it alone. This is an entire team of people here that do it. So please like us, follow us, share us with anybody that that's in this space that's trying to do it themselves, and or just needs some help along the way, or needs help at certain parts of this. So,
or if you're a content creator or in the design space and you're looking for a job, maybe take some notes on the podcast. And
come and see me at Marshall's.
Keep your options open. Maybe you'll run into a job opportunity. So
that's all it takes, man.
Yeah,
that's all it takes. So,
all right.
Sweet. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate your time. Have a great day. Thank you.